I don't know, all good fun. Alan Plum here again with a little more from Shed Engineering. I can't wait for it to warm up so I can get out in the shed again. I'm having major problems wiring, soldering dropper wires to rail. I'm melting no end of sleepers. I'll show you them a little bit later on. I don't think you're about to pick it up. That's one that's quite badly melted. I don't know whether you can pick that up, but I'm melting no end of sleepers. So I'm wandering around my local model shop in Peterborough, great place. Trains for Us? I think it is. I found these, absolutely marvellous. Power feed joiners for code 55 and code 80 rail. I thought, brilliant, problem solved. Apart from the flipping price, £6 for 8. How ridiculous. Well, £5.99. Problem solved. They're already soldered. Now, some say I'm just a thick Yorkshireman, and some days I might have a job disproving that, but surely the whole idea of soldering the dropper wire to the rail is to get the best possible electrical contact. You're trying to achieve the best possible electrical continuity, right? Now, these dropper wires, you'll see the red one better, these dropper wires, right, are soldered to the little rail joiner. Fine. But, surely to goodness, I slide one rail in this end, I slide another rail in this end, right? Now surely I have not improved the electrical conductivity, not even a 1/4%, because the dropper wire is soldered to the joiner. Now I'm only a complete beginner, but if the inside of the rail joiner tarnishes a little bit, or the rail tarnishes a little bit, then you just haven't improved the electrical conductivity one iota. If I go round the whole track and it says, oh, put as many droppers in as possible to make sure that the DCC signal is as sound as possible, etc. One, it's going to cost me a fortune, and I can't see that I'm achieving anything, because I'm not actually soldering anything to the track. So if anybody can explain that, I've got a little clip of how I'm doing the soldering at the moment and melting the sleepers. If anybody can explain when I'm going wrong, absolutely brilliant. The other thing is, while practicing, I've come up with a method of soldering dropper wires to N gauge line, one, without removing the sleepers completely, and two, without melting them. Now, so far on the practice pieces, I'm doing okay. It's probably a bit rough, as in too much solder, so I'm practicing getting a neater finish, but I don't know whether it's a goer. I haven't seen it on the internet anywhere. I can't see any reason why it shouldn't work. I don't know if it's a good idea. Tell me if there's a problem. If anybody can see a problem with it, then again tell me. But if it is a good idea, remember, you saw it here first. So here we go. Because I don't know about anybody else, but I've been having terrible trouble melting the sleepers, and that seems to get a good twist on the wire, and then you'll hear everybody on the videos saying you have to tin the wire. Well, what's tinning mean? Tinning is, this is my solder that I'm using, in this little tube. It's already got flux in it. Tinning is putting a layer of solder on the wire or on the line, because solder is made up mainly of tin. In plumber's solder they used to add lead. And that's why you'll hear people on about lead-free solder. Alright, so the wire has now got hot enough, and I hope you've been able to see that. There's now a layer of solder on the wire, so that's now tinned. Now we have to do the same on the line. Now first and foremost, you've got to make sure that the line is clean. Use a little file to make sure we've removed any tarnish. So I've just held it in a clamp. I'm going to try using the soldering iron with my left hand, so I'm coming over from the back. I'm going to apply the soldering iron to the track, let it warm up for a few seconds. And there we've tinned the line. Solder's actually run onto the line when it's nice and shiny. And I have to try and position it I'm just going to get a little bit more solder on the tip of my soldering iron. Hold that in place, hold it for a few seconds, drop a wire soldered. But is it possible, I ask myself, to do it without removing the sleepers? And if you look here, it's actually melted. That sleeper has actually bent to one side. So even though I've removed the sleeper, it's still getting hot enough to melt the sleeper. Right, so what we're going to try doing now is just cutting the web on the sleepers, just there and just there. And then I'm going to lift that sleeper up underneath I'm going to slide a wire to hold it up. Now that is a bit fiddly, so in typical Blue Peter fashion, here's one I did earlier. Right, so I've cut the web either side of the sleeper, and I've slid a piece of wire underneath, so it's now holding the sleeper away from the rail. Now we're going to try soldering a wire onto the web of the rail. I'm going to have to find something better to get into there, because I'm not absolutely certain. I'm making a lot of contact, to be honest, to actually clean that. Right, I hope you can see that. This is the sleeper that's been lifted away from the rail with this little red wire holding it away. But the problem is, when we apply heat to the rail, it's going to track down the rail in both directions. So what I'm then going to do, and again this is impossible without getting in the way, I'm going to apply a little bulldog clip just there, and because I haven't got much room at this end, I'm going to apply another little clip at that end. So that's the section in the middle that we cleaned, and that's where we're going to try and solder without removing the sleeper altogether. First I'm going to tin this piece of wire. Now we're going to apply heat to the line and try and tin that section. I don't think you'll be able to see it. I thought I'd got enough solder on my soldering iron for it to run, but obviously not. That's it, it finally went. The reason it's taking so long is because the heat in the rail is being drawn away by the two clips. Now we're going to just bend over the end of that wire, and we're now going to try and apply the wire to that soldered area in between there. Again, it's taking a while because the heat is being sucked away. But if you get it in the right position, you can get a nice bright solder, and the solder's actually run. I don't know whether you can see that. Now I'm going to take that clip off and that clip off, and remove the wire from underneath. And we've got the wire soldered to the outside web. I thought it was sticking out a little bit, but I thought the wire is sticking out, but there's a good deal of solder at the back of the wire onto the web. So I mean, that does need a little bit of tidying up. But neither of the sleepers either side have melted or distorted. Now let me just clean that up and snip that little bit of wire away. But hopefully you can see there, it joined to the side of the rail and the sleeper's still intact. So now the sleeper here is being lifted away from the track by this cable tie. I've got it set up in a large bulldog clip just to hold it. The heat is obviously going to travel down and affect the others. So first I'll clean it. There we go. As I said, what's going to happen is that the heat is going to travel down either way very, very quickly. So I'm fastening a small bulldog clip just there. One of these. You probably won't, well, I don't know whether you'll be able to see that or not. It's another little crocodile clip, and I'm going to try and get another one on as well. Right, my hope is now that when the heat tries travelling away, it's going to be soaked up by these two clips. Yet get hot enough in the middle that we can actually get a good soldered joint. So let me just get my soldering iron. Right, so I'm going to apply heat to the line. And the solder's run. Nice, bright, shiny. I shall now, so that line is now tinned, right. A layer of solder on the wire like that is called tinning, because a large proportion of solder is actually tin. I shall now tin the end of my dropper wire. Heat the wire up, and then touch it onto the solder. And you should have a nicely tinned dropper wire, right, I think. And then we try and do the delicate bit of holding the wire in place. Sometimes if you just haven't got enough surface area contact with your soldering iron, you're not transferring enough heat. There she goes. And I think that's alright. It's a nice bright shiny soldered joint. These are quite hot, surprising. Yeah, that one's quite warm as well. Right, so this is a dropper wire. This is the cable tie that was holding the sleeper out of the way. Remove my chisel. Remove the bulldog clip. The sleeper lays back down, and your dropper wire is onto the web. I don't think we've got, or a little bit has run onto the surface of the track there, but that shouldn't be a problem. If I could see my file. I'm sure that's perfectly alright. And if you can see that none of the sleepers are distorted in any way. It's very difficult to know whether the camera's actually picked it up. I'm looking at the little screen at an angle. That's one that was quite badly melted. You see how all that is badly distorted. That was without using the clips. With some double O rail, I'm going to one just there and one just there. And again, the idea is that the two yellow bulldog clips are sucking the excess heat away and thereby not allowing the other sleepers to melt. That's better. There again you can see we've got quite a nice bright flow. Yes, it did take a little bit of time getting the soldering iron in the right place so you've got enough contact, because all the time the clips either side are sucking away a lot of the heat. So it's perhaps a little bit hit and miss. Pull the whatever you've got underneath out. The sleeper sits back down and you drop a wire again. We've just got a little flow onto the surface there. That's all it takes. So I hope you can see that. I wasn't that impressed as far as quickness, because it's nice when you get the iron on and within a few seconds it flows. But I say it's difficult just to get the right angle when I'm trying to film. But I don't know what you think to that. At least you're not melting your sleepers. Don't know. What do you think? Let me know. Thank you very much for watching.